Well, it's very sad. There's several angles to this number one issue. The first primary one for me is the people who sadly are caught into this. Of course, we had a conversation about their seeming believability of a company whose modus operandi
took their savings from banks.
Yes, and interestingly, gave it all their savings in most cases, and in fact,
especially people in the security organizations, the soldiers.
I mean,
police.
I don't know if the individual practices hypnotism on, I don't know, because incidentally, come back and say people should pay some amount
and they believe
to verify the investment, which perhaps they have certificates to before they can be ascertained as having been investors in the business. For me, it's very shocking and very sad. So that part, I think that we sympathize with all Ghanaians. Yes, we can say they were gullible and all of that. Their own faults in terms of judgment going into it cannot be the center of conversation. Anybody could have fallen for it. In fact, the evidence that a lot of people fell for it means that it has some believability to it. So that part, I think that is clear, and we sympathize with the people, especially now knowing about some 200 or so people having perished because of the investments being locked there. So certainly, I think we should sympathize with people and then also support the idea that whatever assets he has and investments elsewhere should be found and applied to pay the people. But my understanding is, your good self, a lawyer, can guide the conversation, is that it's a process, isn't it? That it's a criminal case, and so you have to go through the processes for a judgment whether or not he's guilty or not, and then decision on the assets will be made. Now, so if that is the case, then I guess that we should commend the Attorney General now appropriately taking steps to have this case probably be looked at the appropriate court now to come to a conclusion as expeditiously as possible so we can get to the point of settling the liabilities of the company to its customers. I think that
they feel government can make some advances to them, to sort of cushion them somehow, because they can't be waiting forever. It's been 3 years of an attempt to prosecute and nothing has happened yet. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a fair request to make, but of course it's not one that government has to do necessarily because of the situation. But it's a compassionate call that I think that if conditions were right, if the advocacy is pursued to the point it has to be, I think that if government is able, they will. But the substantive matter is how to get the culprit, if you like, who has defrauded people, given the assumptions allegedly that we have seen, even in the case I was just reading through the charge sheet and seeing the kinds of counts that have leveled against him. I think that this whole number one issue is one that we all as a people need to look at. But of course, where we are now, I think the lawyers, or I think Madam Clinton is the lawyer for the customers. I think her position of drawing the media into this, I guess, is one that is welcome. But my understanding is also that the Attorney General, with the new charges that they've brought against him, is committed to have an expeditious trial. So perhaps we will see, as you were asking, a daily trial of the matter to ensure that the case is decided quickly, and so we can get to addressing the primary concern of the But the one small point I want to make is that people should not get into the space of trying to look at this as perhaps the initial attempts were slow, because it's a very complex case where you needed to understand, it's a technical space, you need to understand the full facts of the matter and understand the complexity of the investment he was doing. It was a novel thing. I don't think that we've had a similar transaction.
You think that's a good excuse?
I'm saying that
by the time the charges were filed, the state was clear about what was at stake.
Well, it was clear that it's violated some...
so, in fact, in the new charges, really nothing much has changed. from 61 to 39 of them. Just that some of them you feel they are not necessary,
Right.
they won't, avail you anything, so you take them off.
As I'm saying, as a lawyer, you know that. So now that a conscious effort has been made to distill the charges, and so that shows some new energy and commitment to want to go to court with the proper case that they know can then deliver the judgment they're looking for.
All
and
right.
also the presence of mind to bring the case to the right court with the proper, jurisdiction to address the matter. It's also, for me, is one that we need to commend.
Thank you.
the attorney.
Yes.